have the 10-4. Lately, mostly against this guy, I've been just bet folding bottom pair on wet boards like that. He can check call with some ace highs. He can also check call with some draws. I would assume, anyways. So we're back to 100 big blinds on the right because I've trucked him for a few hands. I mean, I'm using trucked in a very loose way. But once we're back down to 100 big blinds, I have a lot less qualms about 3-betting medium-sized trash hands. Like whatever. And also, I don't have as much of a problem 3-betting light for value and whatnot. So his upfront aggression is relatively high, and that would lead me to believe that this is an okay spot to check raise King Jack on this board. I have flush draws in my range. I have eights full in my range. It's important that you can have, the top. If you're going to check raise a paired board with a flush draw on it, it's important that you have the boat in your range and also the trips in your range. And I have a medium amount of fives in my range. So we both 3-bet at the same time. And on the right-hand side, he's got I have the pocket rockets, and he 4-bets. I really think he has air here when he 4-bets, just based on the timing of everything. And so I'm going to go ahead and call the 4-bet instead of jambo it. The flop comes 8-4-7, and it is a flop that is okay. I mean, there's pretty much no flop that's going to be bad for me except for like King, Queen, 9 with all diamonds or something like that. A lot of flops are going to be good for me. Left-hand side, I flopped the nut flush, or excuse me, the second nut flush draw. I'd like to check it back. I don't really want to get it in because a lot of his getting it in range is probably going to include the nut flush draw and or a dominating pair or set or made flush or something awesome. Right-hand side, board's nice and wet. SPR is nice and low. All the money is going to go in, and if he has any sort of a pair, any sort of a draw, it's going to go in, and I want to make sure that I don't fucking give him too many opportunities. What boards would I check call there in a 4-bet pot? I might check call like Jack XX. It has to be real dry, like Jack 3-2. I think it'd be stupid to check raise Jack 2-2, for instance, because I just think that he's got a hand like Ace Queen too much. Or excuse me, I think that I make my hand look like 9s or Ace Queen too much. Right hand side, I flat a 3-bet with Ace 9 because he's 3-betting a decent amount, and he's only 3-betting the pot. He bets 7-3-3, mandatory call because all of his hands missed. Or I think it's a mandatory call because I have 2 overs, which is obviously crucially crucial, and all of his stuff missed. As far as Queen 10 and shit like that. I think the turn is a mandatory call because I turned pretty much the best card for my range, or one of the best cards. Yeah, definitely the best card for my range, or for my hand. And the river it literally comes almost perfect. Do I think he'll bluff a lot? Not necessarily. I mean, my hand can be 2 6s or 2 8s. He might bluff a lot. I might have 7x. It's also, the deeper that we get, it also skews more towards value hands. In this situation, I elect to call, obviously, and shove the river for value. Despite the fact that he may not bluff the ace a shit ton, I certainly think that there is merit to the fact that he can value shove worse or check call with worse for value. So he can have like ace jack, ace queen. I would assume he shoves those on the river though. So when he checks, I'm like a little bummed that he didn't shove, and whatever. Left hand side, check call the flop. I have the gut shot, gutter ball, and I've got the overcard, and I make the pair. I also have a backdoor flush draw. I make the pair on the turn, and so I check call it again. The river was going to be one of those really annoying flip a coin. Is he bluffing based on the history of our flow? And it came up heads, and I grogged out and folded. Or I didn't have to make that decision. Excuse me. And so it just went check. So right hand side, pretty good flop. He bets small. I have showdown value, backdoor flush draw. Yada 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 yada. Turn makes him hands that even if I'm ahead of them, they do pretty good against me, like Jack 10 type stuff. Yada yada yada. Blah blah blah. Gonna be a fold. Could call. Would be thin. Too often he's gonna be betting a pair, I think, and then just checking back the river. And if you get that stationary impression, then that's what's gonna happen. Left hand side. 3-bet pre-flop, C-bet the flop. Turn is a really annoying spot. He's probably got a lot of floats. I mean, when I say floats, they're usually like gut shots. I have some 10s that sort of take away a lot of his gut shots. I can definitely check call the turn, or excuse me, I can definitely check the river, excuse me, blah, blah. I can definitely check the turn with an ace and check call it and check the river. I can certainly have jacks full. I can just have a lot of fucking hands. I also, unfortunately, I'm sort of skewed towards 10s and kings and jack X. And when the river comes down, I just decide that too much of his range beats me. He might have had 7, 8 of diamonds. I just don't know. You know, he could have had 7, 8 of diamonds. I don't know. Right hand side, I decided to go for small, thin value. Just one of those spots. Sometimes I do these goofy bets as bluffs, and sometimes I just do them for value. And it's just kind of whatever. It's just kind of whatever. I mean, it's a small pot. Sometimes he's gonna calm me down with worse, or excuse me. Sometimes he's gonna calm me down with worse and whatever. It gets checked to the river. I have top pair, top picker on a 4 straight board. Whatever. You know, we're gonna play a pot that's worth a few more big blinds, I guess. Right hand side, I get another beautiful hand. I think I've had 10-9 suited like 3 or 4 times this session. Lucky day, obviously. He goes ahead and continuation bets, and I like to check raise. I think my check raise size has been a little small throughout the match. It's a function of me not entirely being used to playing 2-4, and also it's kind of it's just kind of a preference thing. He had not 3-bet bluffed me yet or 3-bet me for value throughout the match, I don't think. I just don't think that we've gotten it in when he's 3-bet yet. But unless his specifically bluffing frequency is very high, I have to assume that he has flush draws, which I do not do good against. Or even if he has king 10, I'm in trouble. So I just have to assume that he's got something pretty strong when he 3-bets me. So I'm just going to check raise fold it. I don't have too many problems with that. On the right-hand side, I just fold to his lead on 8-8-2. I mean, after somebody leads so much, you have to assume that eventually they're going to go to a value range, which will be a little bit wider. So maybe he had a value range there that included like pocket 7s or pocket 9s or whatever. Who fucking knows? But either way, it's just not really something I want to dig with. Again, I'm going to bluff raise it sometimes. No, you can't think that I'm never going to bluff raise it, but I decided not to bluff raise it this time. Right hand side, check call the flop with a pair and a gut shot. Turn is kind of bad for me. I mean, you know, sometimes I call here and then I call the river again, but I just prefer, I just don't really think that it's pressing. My range is usually, this is the middle of my range here. Sometimes I can have 8-9, but I can have queen jack, king jack, ace 10, ace 9, ace jack. So there's a ton of hands here where I'm doing okay, and I just really don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold the river.